So if you are taking part in the competition, you will probably know me as Papa Upe. Oh, okay. So, then on the leaderboard, I just renamed to Heng. Partly because that's in my name, I'm Swee Heng. And partly because the first thing occurred to me when I got on the leaderboard was like, wow, Heng, I got it. Okay, so you want to find out more about me, here's the links there. Just quick background. Okay, so this is kind of my background. So yeah, I can see my age from there. So 10 years working in DSO, basically working on crypto stuff and so on, and network security and stuff like that. And then after that, I went into finance, work on proprietary trading FX side, but I'm like the plumber there. I'm just making sure that the data gets there on time, everything's low latency and so on. So I handle a lot of data, but not like, I'm not a data scientist at all. Okay, so after that, I kind of don't know what else I want to do, so I just went to teaching. Right, so I was at SUSS for 4 years. I'm an associate lecturer there, teaching students Python and pandas, which turns out to be very, very useful for this competition. Okay, so two things that happened that led me to this competition. January, I was asked by my head of department says that we need somebody to teach this AI ML course because the original lecturer who designed the course left, somebody else took over and he's short-handed. So basically, I have not much background in this, so like I spent like 1-2 months just reading up quickly so that I can sound convincing to my students, so they will know. Anyway, it was very basic. It was like 18 hours, just touch on very basic like artificial neural network. But it helped me because during that time I came across like the concepts of like training, evaluation, loss, epoch, batch, and all these things, right? And the course doesn't cover any transformers or LLM. Okay. And a very important thing is that a student actually said, hey, Mr. Tan, you go and try ChatGPT, get a paid version, it's very good. And for the point of work, everything changed because like I realized that wow, it's really, really quite powerful. Like the free one is not as good. Okay. And then September, I saw an email about this workshop, and my intention was actually just to record it online, then go and watch it later on. Never really got serious about taking part in this. Until it became interesting. Okay, so actually this is what y'all came for. How to train your llama. Okay. The statement there says that I'm not a data scientist or an LLM expert, but once you go through the whole thing, right, you can make it sound like you know everything what to do. So I'm going to lay out like something that future participants can follow, like what you should focus on. You all recognize where this comes from? It shows you something about age. No. Okay. Subpart. Right. So I think that was to just show that actually I have no plan at all initially. Like step one, attend the course, and then after that, figure out something. Okay. But now that I've gone through it, I think the very important thing that you need to focus on is like how the scoring works. First week actually I was just submitting, and I didn't really know why it gave me the score. And then it was during the clinic that Jia Wei actually clarified it, that there's this setup where you're given the questions, and basically you have your 8B, which you are trying to fine tune, that's why I write FT 8B there, versus a 70B. They didn't tell us whether it's Llama 3 or 3.1 or whatever, but it's just a 70B model that's not fine-tuned on Singapore culture. And then they have a judge. Again, the identity of the judge was like kind of unknown as well, right? So scoring is very straightforward. The judge will decide whether you answer it correctly or not, and then give you a 1 or 0. And so your score will just be greens over 49 since there are 49 questions. I emphasize this part because online there was a lot of confusion. People were worried like, oh, is there a decimal place behind? Whether your ranking would be like kind of it's a floating point number, but actually it doesn't matter. You just have to answer the question, and if you are the first one to submit, then you can rank higher. That's all, right? So I think if you enter any this kind of competition, you just really need to know the scoring system, because that will help you optimize what you want to do. And then we were given 50 lines of training JSON, right? And it covers many aspects of Singapore culture. And by default, it scored 38, right? So I guess everyone was very hopeful. Wow, 50 questions so short, all can score already, right? But if you go and try it, you just get stuck at 38 or even worse, right? So the suggestion, this suggests to me that I should maybe go wide on what I want to cover, right? More than the 38 questions, the 50 questions. And I made some assumption. I said that, look, if you're taking part in a test like this, you have a primary 6 student versus a secondary school student, the judge probably like JC level. So I want to choose a judge that's probably smarter than these two models. So I'm very familiar with 4.0 because thanks to a student who encouraged me to use ChatGPT. So I just assumed that. And so I started actually by just using 4.0 to generate my training data. Right? And in the last week is when I rediscovered Party Rock. Ray actually wrote some very good apps, but initially I didn't realize how to use it. I kind of didn't realize that you can remix it. So I just kind of ignored it, and so I went with So like Sheila did, basically I asked ChatGPT for a list of questions that are of aspects of Singapore culture you want to cover. And the part in red, the bold, is what I use for 4.0, and then the next portion is where I use for Party Rock. And the bottom part, architecture, environment, and all that, in the end I didn't use it. I actually went to the extent of like listing out MRT stations as well, which order they are in and so on. So, but I don't think it was ever tested. So yeah, it's a bit obsessive. Okay. And then for each aspect, right, I like drill down. Like, okay, so you want to talk about food, right? What kind of food you want to talk about? So I have a list of like very long list of food that we know in Singapore. In particular part, the interesting part is like kopi si siu dai, kopi si gao gosong, like that. I was trying to train it to even understand that. So I don't know whether it helps. So that's a long list. Not everything made it into the final data set. Like I said, the MRT stuff, the ministries, hospitals, all that. And my approach was like very like constructionist. I was like building things outwards. So like I come up with some of these questions, like how is the word something used in Singlish and so on. A lot of these questions was actually also generated by ChatGPT itself. Right? I just like prompted like I want questions regarding food. What should you ask? Right? So so that's kind of similar in this aspect to what Sheila did, but at the same time, because I want to reduce cost, I was using an API as well. So I actually asked it for a few questions to me, and then keep reusing them for different subjects that I'm encountering. So you can see that, basically you just set up such a group and you can generate a lot of questions and you can ask for a lot of answers as well. Right? It's quite tedious and mechanical, like it's not very creative here, but I got to around 40% just because of this. It's just like sheer amount of data, I just keep trying. Next stage is like, I find that the questions are like too simple, because if they are so simple and so short, like that, Andy pointed out as well, short answers don't really seem to score well. So I wanted it to make more interesting questions, right? So it's very simple prompt, can you do something like this? But actually it got more elaborate with thought. But you can ask it for an interesting question and then put a comprehensive answer. So like Sheila mentioned, I didn't encounter the large context window problem because basically each API call was like one question, one answer. Right? Instead of what Party Rock was doing was generating like 10 questions at a time with 10 answers. So it was kind of constrained by the context window. And it frees me up to be very efficient because everything was just programs, right? I don't do any cut and paste from Party Rock. So I just run the code and everything is run in the background. I ran it on Collect. Collect, if you're running without the GPU, is free mostly anyway. So it was very easy, and then everything was saved to a G drive. So, and because I was teaching Python, I learned about data frame, and I realized that data frame is very good for handling like JSON. So you can easily query things. Like one of the queries I did, right, is like find all questions that involve laksa in the answer, but not in the question. Right? And the reason why I was doing this is because I was trying to reduce my data set size. So, if laksa keep appearing over many questions, like some questions is just like, talk about hawker food in Singapore, and then laksa appear again. And then it describes what laksa is, and so it's like, why am I repeating all this thing, right? So, like with data frame, it's like very easy for me to like manipulate all this data, rather than say Excel or just text and so on, right? Basically, you need a lot of automation. So, in some sense, I know this competition was trying to make it like easy for people who have no programming background. Like everything is a no code, but if you have programming background, you actually have a lot of advantage because you can automate a lot of these things. And here's one small tip that I realized. I think Sheila mentioned that, something like that as well. Like when you send questions to them, it costs you money, right? So initially I was like, okay, give me a question. Then I got a question. Then I send a question again. Answer this question. Then answer. So that means I send you a question twice, right? The question is coming, it costs me, and then I send it out again. So in the end, I changed my tactic. It's like, okay, you think of an interesting question, at the same time you answer it. So I don't send that question twice. So it's like kind of trying to reduce my cost. Talking about cost, okay, before that. So the elephant in the room, if you look at just now my slides there, right? I have this function there called GPT.ask. It's not something you can find online, but you can create it, right? So that's my prompt there. Just go and tell GPT 40 whatever, and says, I want to create a class I can interact with Python, and the API must be very simple, right? Once I set up my API key, decide on the model I want to use, I can just ask, how are you today, and then get an answer. So basically that's how I did my programming, right? And the class, I published it online as well, so you all can go and try it. And so what is very important is actually the system. So I'm not sure about other things like Claude and Gemini, I never tried them, but with GPT-4, you can always assign it a sort of persona, kind of role that you want to play, and you can tell it like, oh, you're an expert on Singapore cinema, right? And then when asked about questions, you should answer it this way, and so on. So I'm very specific. Here this part I'm still quite, hence I had to manually key in all this thing, or actually I got ChatGPT to create it. But later on, I took a different approach. And the explain, describe, analyze actually like quite long, several paragraphs. I just cut it out. So actually this prompt was quite long, probably like 300 words or so. And the great thing about this, right? I think you all should try it. You have a chance to try this. You can create experts in kind of anything, right? So it's like it's what I call I have a team. You can call it as experts, agents, or minions, or whatever. Basically, they do all your work for you, right? I have a fact checker. I mean, after everything I've generated, some of them are basically nonsense. So I ran through a fact checker to make sure that they are facts, right? And I have one which is a rewriter. It's basically, that one was an English expert. And it's supposed to like take the answer and expand it. Now, because I was trying out things like make the answer longer, how do I do that? So I created one of those. It's very easy to create, very cheap, it's just text only. Just type, and then you can generate. So you can have a whole team of people working for you. Right? And I think this is quite cool because like, I think in history of science or technology, I think that's not really possible. Like to gather like a whole team of experts at such a low cost and do things for you. So that's one of the exciting thing about the the rate statement there is quite funny. I heard this from somebody. Say the AI is an expert, right? In whatever we are not an expert in. Basically, if you are an expert in something, you use it, you realize that it's not as good as you. Right? But when you're not that good at it, like you ask me something about classical music, I don't know anything, you ask AI, it knows a lot more than me. So right now at this stage, AI is still not really expert, but the level is quite high compared to the general public. Okay, this is the cost. A few days ago, I was publishing my data set, and before I publish, I want to make sure that there's nothing sensitive inside. Nothing that's offends somebody, religion, race, or gender. Right? So I basically asked 40 Mini to check, right? And I'll send it a sentence, and then ask it to respond with good or bad with a reason. So about 5,000 entries, it cost me like 43 cents. Okay? So it's not too expensive. But if you use 4.0, it's going to be like 10 times as much. That I find quite expensive. I'm not sure about we're using strawberry as well, right? Strawberry will cost a lot more. Using for okay. But I thought you said O1 preview. O1 preview. Oh yeah, it's very expensive. But I never tried that. Okay, so other than go wide, right? The other thing, of course, is like Andy said, go for the word length. So if you look at the small blue corner, that's the original data set. And this is my final data set. There are two of them, right? The top one is the part used by generated by 4.0, and then they call it Party Rock. Okay, so if you look at these charts, you think that long answers helps, right? But it's not quite just long answers, because I did a lot of experiments. Like you realize that your models hallucinates a lot. I did simple tests like who is Swee Heng? That's my name. And you tell me that I'm a philanthropist, I'm a philosopher, or a businessman, or whatever. It's like, it doesn't know anything about me, but you just make up stories about it. If you tell 4.0, you say that I don't know who is it. 4.0 actually is smart enough to like control itself and say, I don't know who you are. But you ask for Swee Heng, that's our famous artist, or Singaporean artist, and then you give you all the list of work that he has done and so on. And that's very accurate, right? So that's one problem. It hallucinates when it doesn't know anything. Now, even when he does know something, it still hallucinates. When you ask it to like, okay, tell me more. And you just go on rattling on. You get the dates wrong, you get the names of the artworks wrong, and so on, right? And the worst I've encountered recently is for O1 preview, which I trust a lot because it generates quite good code. And it says that I can use this function, the sci-fi special import value, which I thought, wow, really, so nice. It doesn't exist. Sci-fi special exists, but the value function doesn't exist. It just kind of made it up, despite the fact that it's supposed to be quite good. So my conclusion is that longer just means you're more chonky. It's like when people show you a long document, it's like, okay, too long, you don't read. You just like kind of ignore it, right? So maybe the judge is doing the same thing. I also suspect that maybe the accuracy dropped because the more you talk, right, the more nonsense it gets added in. So my challenge is like how to train it to give good answers. And I find that, like Sheila also pointed out, structures helps a lot, right? So if you see my earlier example when I mentioned the expert, I give it like things to analyze. Okay? But at this point, I have so many topics, I don't know what to analyze. Right? For each topic, what's the key thing to focus on? So basically, I ask Paul to do it. Like, okay, you identify for me 3 key viewpoints. Right? And then from there, you can start giving answers. And she was using Markdown, I was just using it like, okay, you can either number it, bullets it, or caps it. Like, so again, that enforces structure. And the moment you enforce structure, it seems like it does better. It's like, I think it helps to be a parent. When you're a parent, right, you go through your school children homework. You realize that they are taught in primary school to do this. They have this framework called PEL, right? Point, evidence, link. Right? You have a viewpoint, and then you write evidence for it, then you link on to the next one. It's a very structured way that they teach our children to do it. And so I was basically like doing the same thing to the model. It's like, so fine-tuning is like teaching children to very smart children not to daydream, just to focus. And that got me past 50.
Swee, I have a question.
Yeah.
So for each question, your answer are the 3 viewpoints? Like the answer that
No. So the answer, I'll show you an example. The answers include all the 3 viewpoints inside.
What's the answer you use in your Q&A pair to find you?
Yeah.
3 answers, 3 viewpoints.
I'll show you an example later on. Yeah. So, but anyway, 50 around there, I stuck there already. Couldn't go any further. So then I decided that because the 4.0 was costing me money, I wanted to have something free. So I went back to Party Rock, and somebody told me that Party Rock you can actually remix it because I wanted to ask somebody. I think it was Peiping, but she's not here today. I asked her like, hey, I heard that you can actually change the model usually. It was stuck at clock 3 sonnet, I think. They said, oh, you just click remix on. So I clicked remix and I realized that actually all the code inside you can change, right? And so I looked at Ray's app and I was like, oh, there's so many things you can do inside there. So, I changed the model, I changed the way I ask for questions as well. Sometimes you can just ask it that, when you think of a question, ask for one that will trigger a long answer or comprehensive answer. And then the nature of the questions change, right? It's really changed. It asks a much better questions. And then for the answer part, I've asked you to you identify like 3 key points about this question, and then you answer it based on them. Okay? And just this approach, it was quite manual because I had to key in like party rock, like which topic, and so on. But it gave me another 2 more wins. And it was just a 603 data set. If you are interested, I have a demo. I wrote this after the contest. It like kind of implement this idea. You can go and try it. Yeah, sorry, I skipped a bit long this presentation. So these are the kind of question I have. It's a question like this answer. So you can see that it started breaking it down to 3 different aspects. Then come up with the answer. So it's like writing GP essays. Very short GP essays. But it doesn't always stick to 3. Sometimes they give me like 6. So the LLM is very bad at counting. So you can ask it for 3 and give you 6. Hyperparameters. So okay, these 3 data sets here all sort the same. But you can see that the hyperparameters all a bit different. And is Leslie here? Somebody called Leslie? No. Leslie's not here. Leslie posted that there was this document you can read. And that really helped a lot. Okay, because it goes into detail like what are the things you can fine tune. So anyone taking part in this competition, please go and read this. In the future, you should read this, right? For me, the best thing I discovered was batch. Because when I start batching out my data, right, it reduced my training time by a lot. So I can do a lot of experiments. That's why I can do a lot of experiments because it takes like half or 1/3 of the time that normally I use. And some other things like, some a bit tricky. Like if you want to play around with the LoRa modules, right, they might end up blowing up the memory use. I had situations where I was happily running, I thought I can run with it. Then suddenly you tell me, you only have 3.8 gigabyte free, but you need 3.9. And so then like 10 minutes wasted. Like multiple occasions of this. Then finally I asked ChatGPT like, why is this happening, and it suggested that maybe those modules have to take up extra memory. And that's quite true. If you remove it, then they will go away. The last part, like LoRa dropout, I also started playing around with that. That's actually recommended by GPT. So a lot of people realize this or not. In SageMaker, right, you have logs, right? And the logs is like long text, a lot of things to go through. But if you filter out for the word _loss, it just give you all the loss related figures, right? And it's all in text, right? So what you do is like you screenshot it, bring it to 4.0, say, hey, give me a data frame, a table for this, and then after that, give me code to generate the graph. It's supposed to be able to generate graph, but sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. It's a bit flaky, so I ask you to generate code instead. And then from there you can see, this is how your training is behaving, right? So this part here, the blue line is always going down. The other one also capacity always, this capacity that's lost. That's training. Training will always improve, right? Eval is where you notice whether you're overfitting or not. Because you're overfitting, it starts going up. So you basically want to find like the minimum point, right? And that kind of like guides me like how many epochs I want to do. So I hope that SageMaker can actually do this. I think somebody asked on Discord like, hey, can we get the graph? But nobody responded. It's like it's not built in there, and yeah. So anyway, it is possible to get it. But a lot of times some of these things I try to help, but some of these things I don't dare to help. Because if I start telling people I use epoch 12 and people try copying it, right, you can basically eat up all your training time. So it's a bit tricky situation. I want to help, but some things I can't say. Okay, I also changed the split to be 0.1. My rationale was that if you're going to dedicate like 20% of the data to evaluation, right, then you're wasting those data. But at the same time, I don't want to have topics dropping out of my training set. So what I did was that some questions, let's say you want to talk about laksa, you talk about what is laksa, talk about how laksa is prepared, how about what's the significance of laksa or whatever. Like, so you kind of repeat it 2 or 3 times, then that kind of improves your chance that you will still end up with training data. Right? So I chose 0.1 because Andy, the other time we were discussing that maybe you can just set it to 0. Because at the end of the day, all these metrics, right, don't really matter that much because the final thing is the judge. you can just kind of ignore it and just set to 0 and just train and just submit to the judge and see whether the judge is happy or not. Other things, okay, if you are doing this in future, you'll realize that you have to handle a lot of JSON, and JSON gets corrupted by the LLMs. LLMs are not good at handling this kind of formatting task. So several ways around it. For me, because I'm generating the data from 4.0, I don't even ask for JSON, I ask for questions for the answers. So I have everything in text anyway. So for me to generate the JSON files, it's all protected because everything is created by myself. I know the formats, right? Another way is to ask 4.0 to fix it up, but it doesn't do a very good job of that. The other way is to ask it, like, give me a program that can fix it. So this approach, actually, if you are into software development, you should try it out because it can always do a lot of things for you as programs. And that I use a lot. And so it saves a lot of time of like handling the text. So, okay, this is the final slide, not going to bore everyone anymore. So in future, if you are taking part in this, I think it's useful to learn some Python, learn all these pandas, JSON, OS, OpenAI modules, so all the import modules that you can use. You can run everything in Collab or the Jupyter Notebook. It's quite nice interface. Learn prompt engineering. Okay, this one is a shameless plug for something I developed. I was just trying it the last week. So if you have a ChatGPT paid account, you can try it. It's basically a GPT that tries to teach you prompt engineering. You know, I feed it a lot of recent archive papers as well, so that it has very knowledge of more advanced techniques. So if you want to try, you can let me know. Yeah, learn how to use Party Rock, you know, and all the APIs. GitHub, Kaggle, and Hugging Face, right? You mentioned Hugging Face, I forgot to mention it there. Like, be familiar with them, I think they are very useful, like if you want to pre-made data. And use AI for a lot of all these other things, right? Basically, one person, very hard to do a lot of work, but with AI, you can like amplify your capability a lot. So you should use it in that sense, in that way. Like prompting, I mentioned meta prompting, that it's like you prompt the AI to write a system prompt for another AI to do good prompting. There's a kind of like recursive level of thinking about it, and you can get quite good results. Like if you manually do it yourself, usually not so good. Okay, I think that's fine. Thank you.
Thanks, Swee, for the insightful sharing. I think we all learned something new today. Next up, can we have Sarah to share her experience?